I worked up until 2 weeks before he was born. I definitely should not have gone back to work as early as I did, but I ran out of money. Medically, physically, mentally, I should not have gone back when I did. And luckily, I was still able to do my job, but not well. Like, it affected the outcome of my product. You have to advocate for yourself. Becoming a mom and getting pregnant made me wake up and be like, yikes, this is not a hobby. This is my career. I found that the only person that could help me was me.
Welcome to Baby Bump and Business, the podcast for creative moms growing a baby and a brand at the same time. I'm your host, B. Troford Wilson, photographer, educator, and first-time mom-to-be, sharing the real, unfiltered journey of pregnancy, entrepreneurship, and everything in between. Each week, I'll be joined by a fellow creative mom to talk about the beauty, the burnout, and the balance of it all. So let's get into it. Today's guest, we have Casey, who is a photographer, business owner, spouse, teacher, and mother living in Atlanta. Her secret bio is that she is an avid romanticy reader, budget eco-minimalist, and wants to be cosplayer. Casey, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So, Casey, we briefly met and we briefly had an amazing conversation about motherhood. Before we get started to that, I want to know a little bit more about your background in event photography because we know that you're always outside, you're always on the move. So, how did you get into that?
So I like to call myself an entertainment photographer because basically I will do anything in entertainment. And I got into that because I have a degree and a love for performing. So I went to the Savannah College of Art and Design. I have a degree in performing arts, and I was an actor for a really long time. I had a successful film and television career. I was on stages all throughout Atlanta and I toured. It was a lot of fun. And when I was in school, I wasn't in a show and a friend of mine was directing, and I was like, can I take some photos of this? And he was like, yeah, go for it. And I was able to produce the type of photos that I wanted of me when I was on stage. So I was able to do that for my friends. And over, the decade or so that I've been doing it, I found that I've been able to do a pretty good job. And people are, at this point, more interested in me documenting the show than having me in the show. So neither here nor there. But that's kind of how I got into it. And so Atlanta is my home. I was born and raised here. And so it was very easy for me to come back and start doing that for the theaters in Atlanta.
Beautiful, beautiful. So, you started your journey as becoming a photographer and becoming an entertainment photographer. When did motherhood come into play? Was that planned?
Sure. So yeah, it was planned, which is great. My husband and I have been together 11 years this year, which is crazy. And we dated and had a really great, fun time for a long time. And then in 2019, he proposed, and we were like, cool, we're going to get married in 2020. For your listeners who may not know, there was this really cool thing called COVID that happened in 2020. But we trudged on and we got married anyway. We had an incredible wedding. No one got sick. It was wonderful. And so we had waited so long to get married. We were like, you know what? We're going to keep going. We're going to get the house. We're going to have the baby. We've had so much fun. Let's do some of this like traditional life stuff. So we bought a house in 2022 and we were like, okay, well, let's like just start trying to have a baby. Well, we didn't have to try for very long. Luckily, I'm very fortunate, but we were kind of like, oh goodness. Okay. So our son was born in the summer of 2023. And it was, we were really excited and we were like, oh my gosh, wow. Well, COVID didn't slow us down any. Let's just go for it. And so we were really excited to have him join us.
Beautiful. Now, how was that journey when you found out that you were pregnant? What was that thought process of what is this 10 months going to look like for me as an entrepreneur?
Sure. I mean, not to get too heavy, but right when I found out I was pregnant with Emmett was when Roe v. Wade was overturned. So there was a lot of like scary what ifs happening. What if something goes wrong? Like, luckily we have insurance through my husband's job. Like, I felt pretty covered in terms of like healthcare. Like I had a provider, but there was still a lot of fear. I was really just scared. Because there were so many things that were going to be out of my control if something were to go wrong. So there was that. There was the societal and like social scare. In terms of business, in terms of like me as a photographer, as an event photographer, as an entertainment photographer, much like yourself, we're active. Like we are out and we are going, and there's no like, oh, I don't feel well, I have to like not go to work today. No, I had to go no matter what. One of the first people I told I was pregnant was a client of mine, because I was like 5, 6 weeks pregnant. Um, and I was getting morning sickness at night. And so I had a shoot at like 6 p.m. It was going to go from 6 to 10, and it was like 3 or 4 days long. And so I had to be upfront with her. I was like, hey, so I'm pregnant and it's fresh and I'm not feeling so good. So if I jolt out for a couple minutes, just know like everything's fine. I'm just nauseous. And she was so excited, and everybody was really supportive and great, it was so supportive and wonderful to have that and have people be like, oh no, like do what you have to do, like feel good. Um, so those early fears were definitely like soothed by the fact that I have incredible clients, and a lot of them are women, which is really great. A lot of these arts organizations have women at the helms or women that are hiring me. And so they were very supportive in being like understanding in terms of like scheduling things, or if I needed to pause, or if we needed to take time or whatever it was. So that was really great. But overall, I had a pretty easy pregnancy. I wasn't super sick a lot of the time. I didn't suffer from any really like pregnancy scaries. It went pretty smoothly. And so I was able to work for a really long time. I worked up until 2 weeks before he was born.
Ooh,
So there are some really awful but hilarious photos of me very pregnant at shoots, like taking headshots of people. I was doing production shoots for Actors Express. There was a show called A Prayer for the French Republic, which was one of the last production photos I did before I left. And it's 3 acts. It's like almost 4 hours long. And I was on my feet the whole time, just like running around the stage and like, waddling and getting around trying to live. My clients were incredibly accommodating. Um, and I just kept working.
that's
Did I
beautiful.
answer that question?
Yes, you did. You really, really did. Now, working up to 2 weeks until your due date, I know, especially for me, people are already telling me I need to stop. Did you receive any of that, and how did you combat those naysayers that were just telling you what you should do with your body when they don't know?
Well, that's a great question. I would say there weren't a lot of people telling me to stop, mostly because they needed me to be there. So that's really good. My clients were all like, "Can you come?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll be there." It was kind of a bummer because when the week Emmett was born, I had what would have been my contracts all come up. There were like 5 or 6 shows that I was supposed to photograph, but had to not because I had a baby. So people were like, "Oh yeah, she's not going to make it to that one. Oh, bummer." Everybody was very supportive. There weren't a lot of people telling me to stop, which was good. I mean, I work for myself. I am self-employed. At that point, I did not have anybody working for me. So it was just me. Um, my husband was very supportive. He would come to with me to a couple of those end shows. I had a couple of other people that would come with me just to like have another set of hands to like carry my camera box or drive me home or whatever, because they were like, you're probably going to be exhausted. So I didn't have too much of that. Um, in the arts community that I am in specifically, like artists are generally very supportive, very chill, very like, how are you feeling? What can I do for you? What can we get done for you? So I felt relatively supported all through the pregnancy.
Now, knowing that you worked all the way up until then, did you work with the mindset of preparing and saving for maternity leave, or did you just work because you enjoyed it,
Uh,
or
that's a
both?
there's a little bit of both. So as a self-employed person living in the early 2020s, um, I would say I'm in charge. So like I didn't have any sort of maternity pay. Like I saved basically I worked all the way up until I did because I was trying to make as much money as humanly possible so that I could take off as long as I could. Now I work in the arts. So the arts notoriously doesn't have great funding, especially now. But in 2022, it was a little bit better. So everybody was like, none of the theaters were paying me. I was like, I was on my own. I had to figure out my own pay. So my husband and I had budgeted and figured out how much money I needed in order to like maintain my contribution to the household in order for us to not be like negatively affected by me not working. I was only able to take 6 weeks off. I guess so it's eight, I guess, including the before. So 2 weeks off before and then 6 weeks off after. I definitely should not have gone back to work as early as I did, but I ran out of money. So I had to go back. And luckily, my clients were there. Everybody was like, yeah, come on, let's go. We've got stuff for you. And I had told everybody, I'll be back 6 weeks. It'll be fine. My pregnancy has been so easy. Like, I'll be back. I'll be bored. I don't want to come back. But then, like, medically, physically, mentally, I should not have gone back when I did. But I did try to plan as best as a first time mom and a young business owner could to, you know, to make sure that I was financially able to get my act together.
Right. So with going back, that you said 6 weeks after, what was that like mentally and physically? Because it doesn't sound easy.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody's experience is going to be massively different, right? I had had a really easy pregnancy. I was very active during my pregnancy, not just like as a photographer, but I did yoga. I was doing yoga on my due date. My husband was like taking videos of me because he was like, because Emmett wasn't there yet, so he was like, I was doing tree pose. I was like able to do a lot of stuff. He was like, this is crazy that you're able to do this. And I was like, I feel good. Like, I feel loose. I feel ready to go. But Emmett's delivery, my son's delivery, was not easy. It was not simple. It left me injured and it was traumatic on my son. And so the timeline of like, oh, I have 6 weeks to heal and get back to what I thought was me before. Did people say, you'll never be the same again? You'll never, it's all different, Yes, of course. But I was like, well, I have to get back to work because I have to provide for my family. Like, I have to get back to work because my clients need me. I have to get back to work because that's my happy place. Even during COVID, like when we were all shut down, I was still going out and taking photos of people from safe distance and like doing good things because I just had to do it. So there was this timeline of like, okay, you have 6 weeks to get better. That pressure was bad. It was not good. It mentally affected me. Physically, I was not healing and taking the time and the processes that I needed to be in a position to go back. And luckily, I was still able to do my job, but not well. Like it affected the outcome of my product. And luckily, my clients were not mad. Like no one was like, oh, this is, we're not hiring you again. No, everybody was like, yikes, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. And because all of these people are clients I've had for 10 years, they all were like, okay, we're just going to be here for you as we can be. But I wasn't able to move the way I wanted to. I wasn't as actively engaged in my mind as I needed to be to do my job. It was a struggle. It was pretty bad.
And so going through that postpartum, what were things that you had to do to be able to get back to you? Because I know like that's something that it looks different for everyone, but then also it's hard to diagnose for us. We don't know it until someone points it out for us. So what was that like for you?
Yeah, I think if to people who listen to this, it's you have to advocate for yourself. I didn't. I did not have medical care that recognized and offered a hand to me. All of these like surveys that they ask the mom, because after you have a baby, you go to the doctor every 5 minutes. It feels like for the baby, not you. They don't care about you anymore. But they still, there's like questionnaires of like, how are you feeling? What are your thoughts like? There are all sorts of weird questions. And I was always scoring in the PPD, postpartum depression score area. I'd give these forms back. No one said anything. They were just like, oh, it's baby blues. And I'm like, no, I'm having some really negative thoughts. I'm having some really scary experiences mentally. And then physically, I was not healing the way that I should have as quickly as I should have. And no one said or did anything. But I was a first time mom. I didn't know what was normal. I didn't know if this was good or not. And I felt like I needed to lie to myself and to my medical providers and my family and my friends and be like, yeah, I'm fine. Because I thought I was just this was just what it was. I was like, oh, this is just what becoming a mom is. I didn't realize that it was above and beyond. Because as a person who is in the dramatic arts, I have been possibly told that I can be dramatic, or that I feel things too much, or that I am exaggerating my experience. And so I thought that was just happening. I thought like, oh, I'm just feeling this too much. Oh, this is just what everybody experiences. It's just affecting me harder. And it wasn't until after I didn't really start feeling better until Emmett was about a year old. So Emmett is now 2. So I've had 2 years and I'm like, oh no, I was not well. And so I wish that I had advocated for myself more. I wish I'd been like, no, I'm not being dramatic. I am having really dark, negative thoughts and I am a danger to myself. But I didn't feel comfortable to say that. So that was the rough part. So like you're going back to your question, what did I do to kind of get back to a place where I could do my job? And be the person I wanted to be, not only for myself, but for my clients, but also for my family, was I relied very heavily on the things that I had done in COVID to get through that scary mental time for a lot of us. I'm a big yoga enthusiast, I'm a big meditator. So some people go to prayer, same kind of vibe, where it's like internally, you need to talk to yourself. You need to realize what's going on. So once I was kind of starting to heal physically, I could start focusing mentally on what I was going through. So I did a lot of yoga. I did a lot of meditation. I rely very heavily on my like bullet journal and like structure. Um, so it became this idea of like the easy actionable item where it was like, okay, what little thing can I do today and can I get it done? And I'm literally just talking about like making the bed. I'm literally just talking about like getting the baby to the library to story time on Tuesday. And that was the only thing I needed to do that week. That was kind of how I had to claw myself out of like, you enjoy accomplishment. You enjoy checking things off your list. You feel validated and worthy when you are actively producing. So, how do you do that in the tiniest ways so that you can start building that up? And that was what I kind of had to do. And then it eventually became like okay, I need to advocate for myself to get physical therapy. I need to advocate for myself to find a primary care physician and a new team of doctors to help me get into a place physically and mentally where I feel like I'm taking care of myself again so that those things can kind of go in line together as I move forward. Um, it was not easy. It was scary. My husband was also incredibly helpful in giving me the space, but also the support that I needed to kind of get back to it. And that helped a lot.
And it's based like just building brick by brick, taking it one
Yeah.
day at a time, one step at a time, but giving yourself that grace to even understand that and to
And I didn't was the problem. Like I didn't give myself grace those first 6 weeks. I was like, nope, I have to bounce right back. This is all nonsense. And then once I realized like, oh, that's not going to work. I had to go back to square one and just try again from the beginning.
And how was your business affected during that time?
Yeah. So obviously, the first 6 weeks, I wasn't making any money, which was a problem. But I had savings and it was just me. When I got pregnant, I hired a social media manager because it's a full time job trying to like market a business. And that was my primary form of like communication and marketing was social media because my community is so insular in terms of it's focused on the Atlanta theater community. Um, Social media was our best thing. So as soon as I got pregnant, I was like, I can't think about this anymore. Please, someone help. So she was great. When I had Emmett, a friend of mine approached me and was like, hey, you look like you need some help. And so I hired her to be like an admin assistant. So I was like in such baby brain mode that I was like forgetting to invoice people. Like I'd go out and do shoots and I would never send them an invoice. And so then they would never pay me, thinking they had. No one was being malicious, no one was trying to like, jip me of money. So, um, hiring those two girls who I'd known for a long time are also actors in the theater community, like are very well versed in like what I'm doing. Um, that was a huge help. Now you're like, Casey, you didn't have any money. How did you do this? I don't pay them nearly what they're worth, but they have grown with me and their commitment and their like life with my company has grown since then. Um, so that helped. Now, in terms of affecting client wise, we talked a little bit about this in our pre-meeting, but I'll just like reiterate it in a hopefully better version for our listeners is when I got pregnant, I was like literally like keeping track of invoices in like a notebook. I was like writing things down and I was like, that's how much money I made, I guess, like it was very unprofessional. It was very unpolished. I was not even an LLC until January of 2023. I got myself an accountant who knew what I was doing, who had worked with other clients like me, and she pulled on my big girl pants for me. And she was like, girl, it is time to get it organized because by the time baby gets here, it's going to be a mess. January of 2023, I became an S Corp and we like grew up. We got a business bank account. I stopped getting boned on taxes. Like we grew up so that I could pay these girls and we could get it kind of growing. So, was it bad for a while not making as much money because I wasn't able to work as much physically and also like because of the time commitment having a baby entails? Yes. But I would also say becoming a mom and getting pregnant made me wake up and be like, well, yikes, this is not a hobby. This is my career. So I need to start treating it like one. So we glowed up really, really fast because I felt like I had to in order to protect and provide for my kid. Um, my husband can provide for himself. So, uh, it helped be it, it's like a scary time because you're like, how am I going to do this? I don't work nearly as much as I did before I had Emmett in terms of like day to day. Um, because I only really am working maybe 3 days a week in the office. Shoots happen whenever shoots have to happen, as you know. Games are on Saturdays. It's just what has to happen. You show up when the stuff is. But I'm only in office 3 days a week because that's all I can afford to send my son to school. But because of the infrastructure that my accountant set up for us, because of the way that we've kind of grown up in the business, I can do that. That's okay. I can do the shoots whenever I need to, but I have 3 days in the office to get all sorts of other like admin, bossy, stuff done. And that kind of structure was 100% necessary in order for us to grow into a six-figure business like we were last year, set to break those records again this year. But without those structures, without the like, oh shit moment of like, I have to grow up real fast. I don't know if I don't know if we would have survived. I might have just been like, no, I can't do this anymore. So it was a great thing for the business because it forced my hand on a lot of stuff. Um, but obviously the business is different. I have to turn stuff down if, Emmett comes first.
Now,
Yeah.
what does that balance look like now, knowing that, okay, now that I'm a mother now, how has that balance been of saying yes and saying no, but also being okay with saying yes and saying no.
Yeah. It happened last week, actually. I my son was he was sick, and I edit only in the office now. So I had to leave the office and I had to leave my stuff here. And there were some clients that were waiting on edits. And I texted them both and I was like, hey, sorry, my son's sick. Like, I'll get these to you as soon as I can, but it's not going to be today. It's going to be another day. And both of them were like, that's cool. Everybody has been fine. And also, it's great because the clients who aren't fine with it are then now clients that I don't want. And it's not necessarily because like I don't value them as clients or I don't want money or like I don't want to grow my business. It's because like even before I had a kid, I know that when people have kids, their kids come first. Like nothing I'm doing is more important than their family. And nothing that they are doing is more important than mine. Yes, my job pays for my family, but you know, we like he was sick. I'm his mom. Like who else is going to take care of him? Um, the structure that I talked about, like setting up 3 days in the office, that's it. And then like most of my shoots are at night, so my husband can like dad it up with our son, and I can go off to work. Works for us. It works for our family, and in giving me that structure allows me to work in a more focused way so that on the days that I'm home with Emmett during like the weekday when my husband's at work, like those are days that we get to hang out. Like we get to go to the library. We get to like, hang out outside. I'll spray him with a hose, in the summer, like we can go plant, we can play with the neighbors, we are focused. I don't have to try to edit on my laptop like while he's napping. I was like, I give that up. That is not, when he was really little, I could do that because I could hold him and edit. But now that he's a toddler, I'm like, it's not worth it. It's too much stress on my head. It's too much stress on our whole family. Like when I'm stressed like that, my husband's not happy and it's not happy. Like I'm done with it. So I would rather live within my means and have that serenity than try to like take every single gig I can take and work nonstop about getting new clients or like, coming up with a new offering, like doing, going to another event, going to another conference. It's not worth it. And that's like more like my mentality just as a person too. Like my husband and I are minimalists. Like we're not trying to reach that next echelon. We're not trying to get that new car. We're not trying to get the bigger house. So we have the peace to be able to enjoy our family. These things, I mean, having a baby forced my hand in a lot of this stuff. It was like, no, and no one is mad. Like I literally thought when I was pregnant that I was going to be replaced. Like when I went out on maternity leave, like they would all just find another photographer. I'd come back to work and no one would want to hire me. I was like, I'm done. My career's over. Was not the case. So now when I say, hey, no, I'm not available, like we've got this trip planned or, my son's got this thing. He's got a doctor's appointment. It's my day with him. Sorry, can't do it. Everybody's like, oh, great. Actually, you know what? That's fine. Can we just move it to this day? Everybody has been more than willing to accommodate. And so then therefore I'm more willing to accommodate for them. Like I'm more willing to like move some stuff around in order to make it work for everybody. Everybody is just, I don't know if it's like post-COVID land. I don't know if I'm just fun or a good photographer, but like everyone has always been very willing to be like, oh yeah, like next week I'm bringing Emmett to a shoot on Tuesday. Like everybody's like, oh yeah, that's fine. Let's bring him. I'm like,
Perfect.
okay.
But I
uh,
think isn't that the sad thing though, where it's like our mind tells us all these negative things that it won't happen or that it can't. Even like the fear of being replaced if we don't work a certain amount of weeks, that adds so much pressure and stress on us, and we don't even realize it. And then we also don't realize that people can be accommodated.
Yes, they can. And if they choose not to, that's on them. And
And they
that
shouldn't be your
seems,
client, like you said.
yeah. And that seems scary because, you know this yourself, like creating a business, and especially a photography business, when everybody has a camera in their pocket, you're like, am I even valid? Like, is it even worth it? Yes, it is. And your unique eye matters. And especially if you've taken years to build not only a client base, but a skill set. And I have a pretty, you know, needle thin skill set when it comes to photography, right? I'm really good at taking pictures of theater. Um, that it pays off. And I think my kindness pays off. I think the fact that I'm willing to like come out and do weird stuff for anybody whenever, like, but people have to realize that I have a kid. A lot of other people have kids, so they know what a pain in the butt it is sometimes when you're like, nope, sorry, he's covered in ant bites. I have to take him to urgent care. You'll get your edits tomorrow. Like everybody's kind of on board. No one's been really like angry about me like being a good person and being there for my kid or my
Right.
family as a whole.
Beautiful. Now, one thing I did hear that I want to bring up is when you did have someone say that, well, they just had a kid, so we shouldn't call them for that job. And it's like, and it's like, we need money now more than ever, and it's like giving mothers the option to turn down those jobs and to like, what is some advice we can give those types?
I mean, I think if anything, what makes a good photographer is an understanding of the world and an open eye. So we are observant, I think is is something that I as a photographer, what made me good as a photographer when I started was that I was observant. I saw things and I saw them in a certain way that was unique to me, and I had just enough uh, knowledge of the camera to be able to capture it. If anything, being a mom has honed and heightened that skill to be able to understand say this. Like yeah, if someone's like, "Oh, she just had a kid, we don't want to hire her for a gig." Why? Because she's unreliable? Lies. I get so much more done as a parent than I ever did. Not only as a single person, but as like a non-mom. And that's not me like dissing people who choose not to have children at all. Most of my friends don't have kids for whatever reasons. It doesn't matter. This is a podcast about being a mom and a business owner. I feel like I am so much more efficient. I'm so much more accommodating. I'm so much more understanding. I am so much more willing to like share and teach and um, have patience for people now than I was before. Before I was like, if anybody wants to be mean to me, like screw them, or like now I'm like, oh, you know what? Maybe someone's having a bad day. Maybe they're just grumpy. Maybe they've had a bad experience with a mom. Because, yeah, like I said earlier, if Emmett is ill or the school calls me and is like, you have to come pick him up now, I don't care what shoot I'm on. I could be photographing, the queen and I'm out, like I have to go. I don't think that makes me a bad photographer. I don't think that makes me a bad person. I've seen other photographers leave shoots for stupider reasons. So if someone who's listening to this podcast is like, well, what do I do if one of my clients is like, oh, we don't want to hire you because we know we're not your top priority. Yeah, I think bye to that client. I don't care if it's Target. I don't care if it's Walmart. I don't care if it's the US government. I don't care. I don't care if it's Delta. I'm just dragging all of these giant companies. I'm so sorry. We have to bleep all of this. But like, I don't care how big the company is. And the likelihood is they have women who are parents inside of their organization who understand what this is. Yes, it can be a giant pain in the butt if you've spent months planning an entire shoot and then something comes up with your kid and you have to bounce. That sucks. But at a certain point as a photographer, I know you've gone through this, I'm sure, you have it happens. You lose clients, you mess something up, you delete a shoot, like stuff happens. Is there now another variable, i.e. your kid, that could happen to your shoot? Yeah. But I don't think that's a reason, A, not to like still be a photographer, B, not to have a kid, and C, not take the risk on either side of those. It really, I mean, at this point, being a mom and being a photographer has only opened up a new door for me as a way to connect to people and connect to my clients. Um, Yep. So I think you just have to be able to you have to risk it. Like at this point, if you're pregnant and listening to this podcast, or B, you're pregnant right now, too late. I don't know what to tell you.
You're here now.
It's coming. You don't have a choice. And I think you just have to be sure in yourself. We interact with these clients, and we have to kind of just take it on a case by case basis, right? Every single one of our clients is different and requires a different relationship. Every single one of my theaters I interact with differently. They are all my friends. They are all people I love. Every single one of my headshot clients, I'm like, yeah, each one needs a different and tailored experience. But I have not come across anyone who's been like, oh, you're a mom now? Deuces. There was one client who I think stopped hiring me because I got pregnant. The last shoot I did for them, I told them I was pregnant, and then I was never hired again. And I was like, hi. And that's okay, because other clients will come. And if they don't, then it wasn't meant to be for you anyway. And you'll find something else. You will find what you were supposed to be doing. I did not ever think I was going to be a photographer. What? I have a theater degree. I thought I was going to be on Broadway by now. No. It's a really, I'm not necessarily like a fate person. I'm not necessarily like a destiny kind of person, but it depends. If you really want to be a mom, which probably people who are listening to this podcast do, that should be the priority, because it takes over your life anyway. It was always going to take over your life no matter what. So let it continue to do so. But it does not mean that you have to stop what you want to do, your dream, your art, your passion. I love taking photos. It's one of my very, very favorite things. I never wanted to stop, and I haven't needed to. And nothing my son is going to do or can do is going to stop me from doing it. It'll just depend, what form that takes might change. But for now, I've made the leap. He's 2, like we got through pregnancy, we got through delivery, we got through babyhood, and we're still here. I'm still standing. We're still surviving.
Right. And that's beautiful. So even for like women out there who believe that the dream has to stop now that I'm a mother now,
Mm.
it doesn't. For some reason, that's been planted in us, and people who we shouldn't listen to gives us that advice, like you shouldn't chase this or you shouldn't travel. Like, once you have a kid, you're not going to be traveling as much for work, are you? Why, if I've spent these years building this business, why does the business have to stop now that I'm a mother now? And why do we believe that we should put that onto women, believing that they can't do both?
And I don't think that's unique to just artists. I think that's probably unique in corporate land as well.
Right.
But there's infrastructure there. There is HR. I don't have an HR. B, do you got an HR?
Nope.
No. We are HR. So like my boss, she's the worst. I.e., it's me. We have to make the policies. We have to decide. Okay, what's going to take. And like, you are responsible for keeping that kid alive. Like, that is really actually your job. But I'm also not the person who's like, and we talked a little bit about this too in our meeting before, like, motherhood changed me. Absolutely. But it is not all that I am. And for some women, it absolutely is. Like, they become moms and their lives have been flipped on their heads, and they're like, this is everything for me. This is what I need. This is what I was meant to do. And that is what a jarring experience that must be. Like, to like just be like a normal person and like have gone and gotten a job and then be like, holy heck, being a mom freaking rules. And I am so excited for them for that. That was not my experience. And that's okay. I don't regret Emmett. I don't regret any of it, because it's made me the person that I am today. It's made me the artist I am today, because like, as artists, what we go through changes what we do. But he is not my whole life. I have a very rich and incredible and fruitful life outside of him. And it is my responsibility as his parent to show him, I really do believe this, that the breadth of life isn't just creating other life. It's to see and experience and fulfill and love and give. And I do that with my photography. So it's my responsibility to show him and lead him through the world and realize, like, it's not all about you. It's about everyone. It's not even all about me. It's not all about your dad. It's all about everyone. And the best way that I can do that is to continue being the artist that I am, continue to be the businesswoman that I am, to show him like what a badass example of a lady is, like, if you want to be a trad wife, go be a trad wife, do it the best you can.
Yes.
If you want to be a businesswoman, go be a businesswoman. You want to be a pilot, you go be a pilot. You want to be a doctor or a nurse or like anything else, go do it, but you have to do it to the best of your ability. And so for me, what that means to me is to continue to work, to continue to take opportunities. I still take opportunities out of state. I still take opportunities and actively search for opportunities that require me to travel like you do. I've got a partner, luckily, who picks up the slack and I pick it up for him when I need to. We have family who are not close, who we can rely on to come in if we really need them to. But we make it work. It's my job to show him that like being a parent for me is not everything, and that's okay. That's not the full experience of life. There's so much more to it, and I want to make sure that he knows that when he goes and grows up and makes a decision on like what to do with his life, that he knows that there are options for him. And the best way for me to show him that is by by doing many
Living
different
it.
things. Yeah.
Right. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So for any creative mom out there who's in this transition, about to be in this transition, or planning to be in this transition into motherhood, what is one piece of advice that you would give them?
Great question. Because it's so different for everybody. When I was pregnant, a friend of mine got pregnant shortly after I did, and I was giving her this advice, and I was talking to her about my experience, and her experience was so vastly different that she and I don't actually talk anymore because we couldn't find anything to connect on. Um, she was irritated that I was in such a dark headspace when it had been such a beautiful, light-filled experience for her, and I was like, "I get it. I didn't handle that well. You're mad at me. That's okay." So it's, like, hard for me to, like, wanna give advice because it's like, I don't want anybody to, like, get into some sort of weird headspace about it, right? But I think the thing, looking back, that helped me the most, that was a piece of advice that I didn't get from the baby books that I read, was, like, get your systems and get your structures in place now. So, that doesn't mean, like, know how to meal plan or, like, don't change jobs if you need to or, like, have the perfect capsule wardrobe. That's not it. I want prospective moms to have a real conversation with themselves about, okay, what actually makes me happy at the end of the day? And I'm not talking about a bubble bath. I'm not talking about fluffy self care. What actually helps you get things done and feel good about yourself? Know what those things are. Because in the fog of like coming out of not only hormonal drops, but like a completely turn on its head home life, a completely turn on its head romantic life, you need to know what anchors you. So for some people, that's like a religion or some form of spirituality. If you can go into that, amazing. You know to rely on that when you are in your dark space. I, like I said, love the structure of like my my bullet journaling, my clean home, like having like a regular schedule. Those kinds of things make me happy. And I knew that before, but I didn't have a ton of those in place before Emmett came. And so I had to like kind of cobble it together and be like, what actually makes me happy? Like what actually do I need in order to survive? What do I actually need? And so being really in touch with what you want and need as a person, not some imaginary self care nonsense. I'm talking about what actually makes you happy and what actually like tickles your brain. And I'm not talking about retail therapy. I'm talking about like real life, what makes you happy. And that's how like my yoga and the meditation kind of regrounded me and brought me back to reality after and it's unfortunately like a physical thing, but a lot of people like to work out and it gives them like a good like meditative headspace. Knowing that and being able to engage with that on a regular basis and on some sort of schedule was what pulled me out and what made me happy. It wasn't, like my friends and my family were all being as supportive as they knew how to be, but I found that the only person that could help me was me. And I had to have too many conversations that I wish I had had before I got pregnant and before Emmett came, to like remind myself of that so that I could be better and get better and not necessarily like get back to who I was before, but like just to get through the experience and the part of it that's hard for everyone without maybe having it had spiraled me as far as it did.
Ooh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Casey, thank you so much for all
Hey,
of this. This was amazing. Thank you so
you're
much for
straight
sharing.
up lying, but that's great. I'm glad that you wanted to listen to me just prattle on. But I'm excited for you. I think it's going to be, it's such a weird, crazy, psycho experience. And I'm excited for you because and for any moms out there that are getting ready to have kids and they're working, especially in a creative field where like your brain kind of has to be on. It's a whirlwind, but it showed me how much stronger I am than I thought I was. Um, I think it's made me a more efficient creator, a more efficient creative. It's made it really clear what my priorities are, and not even just like my family is my priority over my job, but like what kind of art I want to create, and to stop asking for permission just to do what I want to make, to make what I want to make. I'm working on a personal project that I'm like, I would never have done this before and enlisted the people that I knew to enlist. But like, time's short, baby. We got stuff to make. We got things to do. Let's just do it. Life's short. His life is showing me that. He's already 2. He can talk and like eat his own food and tell me he needs stuff and play by. I'm like, what? 2 years ago, I was like bleeding out and like crying every day at 6:30, being afraid of like the nighttime, routine that was going to happen. So much can change in such a short amount of time. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. So
Yeah.
thank you for having me. Thank you for letting me talk about this complete psychotic nonsense that is becoming a mom in 2025.
Listen, but these are the things that people. It's not always just beautiful roses and gardens, but these are the stories that need to be told. These are the stories that need to be shared, and your honesty and your vulnerability. I know it's helped me, and I know it's going to help another creative mom out there.
Good. I'm glad.
Thank you so much, Casey, again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have a great one.
Bye, you too.
Thanks so much for tuning into this episode of Baby Bump in Business. I hope today's conversation reminded you that you're not alone on this journey and that there's so much power in building something beautiful while becoming someone new. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to rate, review, or share it with another mama or creative who needs the encouragement. Your support helps the community grow and lets more stories like ours be heard. To stay connected and get updates on new episodes and real talk from creative moms like you, be sure to follow us on Instagram at Baby Bump in Business. Until next time, keep creating, keep growing, and give yourself all the grace that you deserve.